Anybody that don't know me, my real name is Sam. I go by the handle of Right Standing on social media and YouTube. I believe my full name, Sam Pitts, or Right Standing for Facebook, Right Standing for TikTok, or Righteous Rewards, RIJUSREWARDS. And what's up? Instagram is Right Standing. And when I say Right Standing, that's RIGHTSTANDIN, no G on the end. Okay. So I am an artist in full capacity. I do poetry, I do hip hop music, I do hip hop writing, I do drawing, I do pretty much anything that has to do with creativity. Airbrushing, I do a little bit of that as well. Painting, a little bit of that. Shoe customs. You get the picture. So, thinking about the gift that I have, I've been dormant on it for like maybe about 20 years. Then something told me to get things in motion with it. Now that we got the age of social media, put your stuff out there and promote it and let the gift start making room for you. So that's exactly what I'm doing. The majority of what I'm doing right now is I'm not doing too much writing. I'm not doing too many performances. I did a couple of music videos and stuff like that. I'm about to get more into the spoken word poetry, and I also minister. So it's like right standing, that's the relationship with God, but we do all things art, entertainment, and ministry. Okay? So I had my YouTube channel for a while, but just started trying to do something real good on it that I'm familiar with that's been dormant for about 20 years. And that's my art. I worked on a few shoe customizations and just let it sit. But as far as my drawings, I did a drawing video, for Good Friday, and I think that's as far as I got. I didn't get too much response on it. I didn't know you had to really build up a following. I just thought you just put out something on YouTube and people like it, they just start following and liking and you blow up. Okay, silly me. So I got discouraged and I just let that sit. But I got back into the groove of it the month of November. And I literally been drawing throughout the month of November and doing these recordings, these live recordings. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a review of my things that I've done in the month of November, starting with these drawings. Now, do I remember them in order? Not really, but I can try. I remember my very first one I did was this one. This is one of my cartoon characters. I got a cartoon called Big Man and Buster. I was thinking about renaming it as Little Boys in the Hood because it's like a whole group of little fellas and girls and everything else. And I base it around, a lot of things in my neighborhood. But this is Big Man, and I'm going to continue to introduce some of my characters as I go on this drawing journey, and then we're going to start putting them in cartoon form and telling stories and everything else. I really enjoyed this one. This was not his original look, but the nose and the lips are a little different. But I ran it through ChatGPT because my drawing sometimes can be a little rough, and I just want to see what it would look like smoothed out if I want to really do a smoothed out cartoon, comic book form or whatever else. And he created this image of my image. I like it because of the lips and the nose. It really gave it a black feel, but it's not the exact character, and I will be drawing the exact character freestyle. I do have trouble with doing backgrounds. So that's where I'm going to utilize ChatGPT to give me the backgrounds I need for the places that I want the characters, but I think I'm going to draw them. And if I do anything, to ask ChatGPT to smooth it out, but don't change the drawings. You know, make the lines more crisper and smooth, but don't change the drawings because I want to keep the shade and everything exactly the way I want to. So again, this is Big Man. Of course, he's got on his brown shirt, and I did this drawing in pastel, and I like pastel because it's almost like finger painting sometimes when you can just smudge and smear and everything else. I got to learn how to do the oil pastels, but I like the chalk pastels, so that's what I worked with mostly because that's the one that I'm most familiar with. Now, as you'll see later on, I start getting into these markers, and we'll talk about that a little later. But this is pastel. I like the shading that I did, so I think this was a pretty successful drawing. I didn't get my spacing right, that's why his head is cut off at the top. I wanted to get the whole character on. So, you know, that's this. And I don't have any spray or nothing right now to just kind of set these things in. So they're smudging this stuff every time I close them up in the notebook. But it's all good. I'm going to redraw this stuff anyway one day. So yeah, this is Big Man. I think I'm going to show you Buster, his brother, next time I do an art piece. This might have been the very first one I drew, now that I'm looking at it. But it might have been the second one, I'm not sure. Black Mario from Mario Kart. Got him a Supreme hat, put some gold fronts in his mouth. Again, another pastel. Why the pastels? Because I love the shading. I think I understand black people's skin tones. So those deep, rich colors and stuff is always available with white highlights. It's always you got a red for a tongue and you black for the hair and the mustache, and it always gives you that coarse look. But it gives you such definition that I just enjoy these pieces. And of course, if somebody want to commission me to do something for them or their kid or whatever else, I'll do it. So this is Mario Supreme from Mario Kart, and here's probably my first or second one doing this. Now, like I said, I put my drawing stuff down for like maybe 20 years. I did it when I was a kid, then I started picking it back up in the month of November. So everything that you see is going to be a little rough, but it's going to be all good. Next up, let's see who we got. Okay, this one came straight off of ChatGPT. I asked for a duck, a female duck, but I wanted her to have a Louis Vuitton outfit on. And if you see the picture, which I might post, she does have a Louis Vuitton outfit on, but I didn't want to draw all that. But I did give her a Louis Vuitton scarf. How about that? And I guess she's not Daffy Duck, but what I was drawing a duck. I wanted to do like a fly cartoon. Like I got I'm more of a cartoonist than anything. So I'm expanding my horizons with this portraits and stuff, these facial portraits. Really learning how to do different kind of shading techniques with this medium. But, you know, cartooning is my thing, but I'm not used to drawing them so big. So when you see things maybe a little out of proportion, that might be why. Because I'm trying to get used to drawing big portions in proportion. So I don't have a name for this duck, Flashy Duck, or whatever you want to call her. But if you see the video, I did create an AI duck that I was arguing with about finishing drawing this duck. So I don't know. It's kind of funny. Okay, so who we got next? Okay. So this one, it would be a little out of character maybe for the Christian community, and I am a Christian, but it's something I wanted to do. I did this one on Halloween. Now, I don't celebrate Halloween, but like I said, I do eat the candy. So I guess I celebrate it to some extent. But because it was Halloween, I wanted to just do something scary. I like scary things. Walking Dead and stuff like that. So I did it. Hopefully, I don't get judged about it. But it was a scary clown that I found on the internet. And I just liked it so much. I said, let me duplicate this. And then I went to AI tool because I was going to have the clown come off the picture if I could figure out the prompts for it, but I couldn't. But what it did, it allowed me to learn how to make the clown move and shake and start turning around. So you can see everything I showed you. I got a video on my site, my social media sites, so you can always scroll down and just take a look at the video that I put around it, because sometimes I put my music, the music that I create, with the video, and that way I can promote my music, I can promote my art. Sometimes I put my poetry with it, my poetry to music. But this is Scary Clown. All right. Now, I always thought that what do you call those things? Pokemons were kind of cool as far as cartoon characters, so I figured I'll draw my own. So I asked ChatGPT, because I do a lot of reference. I do things out of my head when it matters to me and I want to do something artistic and creative. But when I do it out of my head, a lot of times they don't have as much of the detail, because I can only think so far into my head when I'm trying to replicate something in my head. I probably because I just lose focus so quickly because my mind's going all over the place. So I do a lot of reference drawings, and now with ChatGPT, I can actually tell him or her or whoever it is what I kind of want and have it created for me, so then I can just reference my own idea. So this was supposed to be my own personal created Pokemon that I can always find. It was supposed to be half shark, half turtle. And I asked people to give it a name, and I said you can't use Shirtle and Tark or whatever else. And somebody said, "Hey, you stole the street sharks." I didn't steal the streak shark because I don't know what a streak shark is, but I looked it up and I see the similarities, but this ain't a street shark. This is a Shirtle. This is the Shirtle. But yeah, this was me getting back to my cartoony way, and you can see that I think I've captured this pretty good because I'm used to doing cartoons. Again, it might be a little disproportionate on a bigger scale, but I think it turned out pretty successful. And I realized I started having this drawing style, even when I shade, and I don't know if you could really see it, I almost outline the shades to give it more definition and dimension or whatever else. So I guess that's something you can look forward to, because then when you see something like that, the outline of the shade, like around here or whatever else, the highlight, outlining the highlights, I'm sorry, and maybe some of the shades. But when you see a piece of work, it almost be like something that you can identify and say, hey, Sam did that one. Or Right Standing did that one. Or Show did that one. Some people call me Show You Righteousness because, when I do my hip hop performances. So I've been called Show, Right Standing, or Sam. It don't matter. One person called me Uncle Art, or something like that. Whatever. But now I'm starting to get back into the cartooning as well. Now, before I go to the next one, I'm going to show you another cartoon I did. I was watching the Cavs game, and I wanted to spend some time with the family, and I realized I've been down here spending a lot of time just, drawing. So I was like, okay, what can I do? So I took a little tablet. So I call these maybe quickies or whatever else. No, this one came from when I went out of town. No, I'm going to go with this one first. So I went upstairs, and while I was watching the Cavs game, and this one kind of got messed up because I think I didn't know that this is my first time using markers while drawing. I used to use those old Crayolas back in the day, about 20 years ago. Now they got these alcoholic free. I'm saying alcoholic free. Markers don't get drunk, but these markers that's alcohol free. That's not supposed to smudge. So while I was upstairs watching the Cavs game, I did this drawing, and I think it turned out pretty good because I was trying to see what it was. It was this anime, and I never drawn anime. Um, I just always drew like Marvel comics and just cartoons or whatever else. So this was my first shot at drawing an anime. If you go to my site, you'll see this video. I actually went to AI and found the original version of this. It's not in this children's form, it's in an adult form. So I took it and made it dance to some music while I was drawing. So it turned out pretty darn good for my first anime drawing. Then I went out of town, and that brings me to my second anime drawing. While I was on this kick, or not anime drawing, but while I was on this kick of doing these cartoons, I said, let me try Roblox. So I went looking for a Roblox. Now this turned out okay. I think I bit off more than I could chew. Like I said, I was out of town, was picking up my daughter from school, so it was like maybe about 10 o'clock at night. Was at the hotel. I was like, let me draw something. So I started drawing this, and I really loved it because it had so many vivid colors. It turned out pretty good, but I started getting tired in the middle, and he was wearing so many different gadgets, but they wasn't really clear. So I was just kind of trying to create what the gadget was. Then by the time I got down here, I was dead tired. And as you can see, I just kind of half did this just to finish it. And sometimes, I get to rushing and I do that kind of stuff. So I like it. And for people that can't do it, they might say, oh, this is cool. But, for myself, the way I judge myself, this was cool up here. Well, as I start going down and it start getting later, it stopped getting cool. But it was my second time drawing something of this complexity and using those markers. I've never used those markers before. Those are just mediums I've never known of until I started drawing again. Okay, so I'm back in town. So I'm trying to get more back into the shading part. I didn't want to just overload with cartoons because everybody's not into cartoons, but some people are into shading and stuff like that. So I came up with the Praying Girl. Now I'll show you the Praying Girl, but I guarantee you she doesn't look like this. And it's something about me when I'm drawing these little bitty kids. They look older. They almost look like their teen self, or they don't look like little kids. Like they little kids, maybe about 5, but when I draw them, they end up looking like 11 or 12. How, I don't know, but it might just be my perception. But it's a girl praying, and maybe I'll show you the actual picture of the girl praying. It was like one of my first AI pictures I've ever created, because I was trying to do some still life ministry for like Instagram. So I said, well, let me duplicate this. And you can, like I said, you can see how things are getting messed up when I close the page. But yeah, this was the little girl praying. And I think it turned out pretty good regardless, because she's still a little girl. She just ain't as small and as cute as the actual picture. Okay. So back to some anime. I said, okay. I actually think this was the second anime I did. Boom. This is, I don't forget the dude's name. But anyway, he was an anime character that somebody asked me to draw. So I said, okay, I looked him up and I found this picture. And it was a small picture. And I just did it freehand, and because it's a cartoon, I didn't really care about the portions and everything, because it's one of those things where if I made the fist giant or whatever else, it wouldn't make no difference because it's just cartoon and it's an anime style. And I said I kind of like this anime, so I'm trying to get used to doing the anime, because a lot of the followers that I have love anime. So why not appease them just as well as I'm trying to appease an older crowd. I like the shading. Everything worked out good. His hair color was a whole different color, but I went ahead and made it purple just to give it a little contrast or whatever the word you want to use and just make it a little different. While I was on my cartoon kick, I was like, well, let me find some other cartoons. Now, I started getting requests for people to say, hey, can you do this? Can you do this one or whatever else? And because I started getting requests, I was like, sure. So somebody asked me to do a real Pokemon. So, I don't know. I drew this squirrel or whatever it's called, but it's called Pikachu. He was easy. This was like a piece of cake. It didn't even take me long. Now these drawings are taking me like 2 hours or whatever, but this one didn't take long at all. It looks like an evil Pikachu or something like that, and I thought he was supposed to be like cute and cuddly or whatever else, but I like this one better. I really do. Okay, let's see how many more we got left. We got quite a few of them. And I'm going to pause the camera after this one, and I'm going to try to upload the video so I have enough space to continue to do this. Again, you can start seeing the technique that I had when I'm starting to outline the highlights. This is something that just comes natural to me, so obviously it's my own style. All right. So I left off at Pikachu. I think the next one up for a thing. This was a request. My channel started picking up a few. Excuse me. My channel started picking up a few viewers. So I was like, well, to say thank you. If anybody wants something drawn as a request, I'll do it because it'll challenge me to draw. One young lady asked me, could I do her YouTube profile picture. More anime. I don't know who this is, but more anime. And I really enjoyed doing this. This was just like a soft picture. It didn't take much time, but it's something about the face of the anime and the eyes, the spacing with the little drip nose and the mouth. It's just that whole area about anime that's a little not confusing or perplexing to me, but I struggle with getting the shape and the spacing right in the face. This took a minute, but as you can see, it worked out well. So, of course, somebody else said, well, if you can draw that, can you draw my profile? I'm not gonna lie, this is my least favorite. It was one of the hardest. I don't even like the way it looks. It just looks weird to me. It was shaped weird to me. I couldn't really get no good whatever, but it turned out great. And he liked it. And that's all that really counts. The viewer was happy. Me, I don't even know what this is. It looks like a part Grimace, part Pac-Man, part whatever. I'm not sure. But he liked it, and I'm happy that he liked it, and I'm happy I could do it for him. So God bless him in this picture, but I wasn't feeling it. But I did it because he was a subscriber of mine and he requested it. So let's take a break from cartooning and go to a little realism. I said I wanted to do emotional pictures. So I started with this one. This is not out my head either, Like I said, I do a lot of work with ChatGPT. I sometimes it takes me hours to get exactly what I want because ChatGPT has a mind of its own. You ask for one thing, it'll do it. Then you ask for another thing, it'll do it, but it'll change the one thing that you had in the beginning and give its own variation and whatever else. Experimenting with colors. Again, this was emotional week for me. So I had this little boy crying. And I was experimenting not with the typical black people colors, but I decided to go out my box and use these blues and these oranges and more vivid colors. I think it turned out pretty good. Of course, you see my proportions. Can't get the whole picture in, but I think it turned out very good for what I was trying to do. And because, no, I'm not going to show you that one. Because it was emotional week, I went two. I did these two on the same day. I went with a bigger kid, crying. I still didn't get him fit on the paper right, but I still was working with different colors other than the traditional black, trying to be more artistically expressive. And I think I nailed it with this one. I think the eyes are off. Maybe it's a little slanted. Something's a little slanted, but I guess you can call it my artistic creativity. When I look at things, I naturally hold my head to the side, so I think a lot of the stuff that I start off with leans to the side. Sometimes I have to actually stand up. Sometimes I have to actually stand up to step back and look at the picture. I'm sorry. She was telling me the Cavs was on. We Cleveland fans here. I had to stand up to actually look at the picture and then make some adjustments and say, wait a minute, this is crooked. I did that on my last one, but I'll get to that. Okay, let's take a shift back to cartooning. This one was my difficult one. It didn't always look like this, and I still don't like it. This person in the middle, my deaf soldier. Now, mind you, my history is I love Marvel Comics. That was the first thing I was drawing before I was drawing Kitty Comics. So I was creating my own characters, which I'll get to one of them. But this deaf soldier, he was on what is that? Not Roblox. It's one of those Fortnite. I looked up Fortnite, and he was a Fortnite character. So I said, okay, I like this one. I'll call him a deaf soldier, and I'll draw him. I drew him, and then I drew an explosion in the background. And it had a city in the background. Again, this was one of those things where you just don't, where you know your own limits, but you try to push it. So I was happy with this. But I started getting sloppy with the background, and I couldn't find the right colors to match what ChatGPT gave me for the city. So the buildings was purple, but they didn't fade and shade right, because now I'm going into markers now. This ain't the pastels. I'm going into markers. So you can't like rub your fingers and blend this. You got to find the right color to blend with it. All these are hard lines. So needless to say, I finished it. The subscribers thought it was cool, but I didn't. So I ended up cutting him out. And I'll maybe add that video in. I ended up cutting him out and then putting him on a sheet of paper with another explosion. I still didn't like it. That background. I struggle with background. So I cut him out again. And then I outlined him on a blank sheet of paper. And then I drew these two soldiers. I like this one. But I don't like this one. I like the way the face is going. Again, I start getting tired. And I got to watch myself pushing myself past my limitations, because then I get sloppy. So then I was trying to come up with him like in a background and like a shade in the background. But that looks unsuccessful to me. I got the buildings right. I got the explosion right. But the problem is everything looks too cluttered. It don't look like there's some kind of spacing where you can differentiate each figure from the background, from the things. At least that's how I look at it. Now you might like it and say that's fire. Somebody said it was fire. And if you like it, that's fine, but I just didn't like it. I like this one and I like this one, and I almost want to cut this one and this one out and do it again. But I can't, because that's just that MO that I have. I'm always trying to just keep figure it out until I just get tired of it. So I'm not. This is what it is. Deaf soldiers. Let's see. Do I have any? Some of these got smudged because I just didn't realize that those markers, because they said they didn't smear each other, I didn't realize they'll be coming through the pages. So some of these might have some extra marks on it because it's smeared through the pages. And I got to find something to seal. And somebody told me what it is. I got to look back at one of my posts to seal my artwork. Or I'll just look on YouTube. They always got it. So, okay. So, back to the anime. I got another challenge. They said, draw Luffy. Now, here's the funny part. I've been calling him Luffy all this time because it's spelled Luffy. You don't spell Luffy that way, but I guess you can pronounce it that way. So I said, well, what's a Luffy? I went on the internet and found a picture of him, and I really liked the picture I found of him. He's an interesting person. I didn't have his right pigmentation color, but I found something close, and I was experimenting with color, so bam, there he is right there. Luffy, that's his name. I've been calling him Luffy all day. He's part of this crew called the Straw Hat Pirates. And I really like these Straw Hat Pirates. They're interesting characters to draw. So I'm going to draw some more. And I did. Let me show you one that I did. I wanted to draw the whole crew together. So this time, and I don't use stencils and everything, but I got a projector and put it up against a canvas so I can make sure I got everybody in. They said it was about 9 of them. ChatGPT told me 8 of them. So then I had to rifle in this guy right here with the long nose, Yusuf or whatever. They got some crazy names. So I'm thinking I'm good. And next thing you know, one of my subscribers turned around and said, you're missing one. And then he told me the name of him and he said, good luck. So now I got to figure out where I can put him. I got a lot of stuff on here, so I'm going to have to kind of draw over other things and paint maybe. And I'm not a painter, but I'm going to try it. But I got mad because I accidentally squeezed some paint on here because I was doing it with a pastel, and the pastels wouldn't connect with this texture. So then I tried the markers, and the markers, they bled onto each other, so they didn't work on this texture. So then I tried my paint markers, the ones that I use to customize my shoes. They seemed like they worked out a little bit. And then I started distressing this area where I didn't like the lines from the markers, and it started working out. So, but when I squeezed the paint, it messed up my work, and I got mad because I didn't think it was redeemable, so I squeezed more paint over it and everything else and messed it up. Then I started feeling guilty, and I caught myself trying to wipe it off, but this is on here. So I'm going to go back and finish this. I don't know how, but I don't think it looks too bad. So I'm going to give it another shot, but I'm not going to start another canvas. I'm just going to do it over here, and whatever it ends up looking like, that's what it's going to look like. But I kind of like the anime, so I'm going to give it a shot. My daughter came down, and she's like, oh, I will post that. So she kind of inspired me to redo it. One thing about me, I get upset sometimes when my art don't come out right, and I just ball it up and throw it away, like I did the one I did today. I had to ball it up, throw it away, and try it again. I did that before. I made it into a funny video or whatever else, but I literally got mad and tore it up. I was drawing a little black version of a Betty Boop. The little kid that looks like an adult, or a little adult that looks like a little kid. I don't know what it is, but the more you think about it, you're like, is this all right to do? But anyway, I was drawing, and I could not get the face right. It was something about the face that just didn't hit me right, the shading and everything else. And I get so frustrated, I just tore it up. Now I got to pledge to myself to redo it so you guys can see it. But that's where I am at with that. But so that's just something I got to work on. Like I mentioned before, I tear my stuff up because if not, I'll just keep going over until I get it right, till I get it right, till I get it right. And sometimes I don't get it right, and then it just frustrates me more. So sometimes I just got to utterly destroy it and start over. Okay, so Straw Hat Crew. That's something I'm going to work on every now and then I'll just show y'all the end result. This is something I'm happy with. I figure I would introduce one of my comic book characters, comics, like Marvel, because I was gonna start my own comic book. I never did, but his name is Gizmo. Here he is. I had him when I first created him. I created him in a white costume, and the power is within. He has the ability to reach into himself and pull out stuff, but so it don't look so weird. He wears things like big trench coats or capes, and he reaches in the darkness of that and pulls out any kind of weapon of offense or defense that it's like whatever his mind can imagine, he'll pull out. And this is him. Like I said, I always had him in a costume, but now you have these street heroes. So I said, let me make him in a street hero. He has what's the word, vigilado or whatever, or his skin is different colors. But he wears his brim, suit and tie. He's sharp and everything else, but he can fight, boy. And I'm gonna start making a storyline for him so you guys can enjoy. But this is Gizmo, and I think you will enjoy him when I finally start doing him. On this, I went and got a gel pen. I used to see people with these gel pens where they get in these very fine details with white. So I said, well, let me go get one. So I got one, and I kind of like the details that it helped me get. So it's almost like another little technique with the white gel pen. It gives me those real sharp highlights that I can appreciate with my drawings. So that's Gizmo. I got one more, and this is the one I did today. Let me go to the garbage. I entitled this one that I did. I entitled it "Working Out of My Comfort Zone." Why? I'm an African American man. You couldn't tell, could you? Okay. Anyway, so I'm used to drawing people of my nationality, or as close to my color, so to say. And because I guess I understand the skin tone, but it's just easy for me. So I said, let me go out my comfort zone and start drawing some people of different color than I am. Well, I found this little baby crying online. I said, I'm going to do that. I didn't like it. I could not capture the skin tone and the color right. I use pink. I use this light beige and everything else. The red, the lips. I couldn't get the eyes right because they was too close together. And after a while, I just said, you know what? Let me start over. So that was like an hour's worth of drawings just wasted, But at that same time, my wife had brought me some McDonald's back, and therefore I took a break anyway. And I was like, let me just start over from scratch. I had some time invested, but it wasn't that much where it's going to kill me. So I started over. I still don't like it because I didn't capture it completely. You might like it, but I didn't. Again, this is one of my situations where my little kid looks more older than a kid. Now, I caught the emotion, I think, a little bit. I even added some tears of my own. But you see how things mess up? But I didn't catch the cringe in his face because he was more like this. Like he was about to cry. So I couldn't catch the crinkle in his noses and stuff because I guess this is not me being crazy or nothing like that, but I think with black people, because we have a darker skin tone, we can see more shadows. With white people, I don't always see the shadow. So it's hard for me to capture the shadow unless it's like true definition, or maybe I'll run through ChatGPT and say, give it to me in a graphic, give me this photo in a graphic way with real detailed shadow, and then maybe I can get that. Like if it was a black and white photo, I think I could have captured it easily because I'm real good with black and white, just using a pencil. But coming up with color blends and everything else, that's something I want to get used to and stretch myself to the point where I can, draw a person of any culture, any color, or whatever else. So I'm gonna continue to work on these, not these, but these kind of pictures where I'm expanding my horizons and drawing different people of different races and stuff like that. I don't know who I'm going to draw next. I might just keep working on Caucasian people, maybe a few Asian people, whatever else. Just learning and practicing skin tones and then being creative, because I almost got creative. As you can see, I decided to add a little blue, but I think it was okay. When I look at when I was dealing with the hair was so detailed, I couldn't do it. I like I said, my mind goes 100 miles an hour, and I like to see the end of something, and I don't know if I have the patience to just work on the details that I see people on the internet doing. I have to develop that because it's almost, and then I got to figure out how to do it. That's a wisdom and a gift that they get that I'm just not there yet. But I know if I can do this, I'll get there. I really would. So that's my art for the week, for the month rather. Except for, I don't know if I showed these. I took a break from these. Supposed to be Miami Nice, but I didn't know if I should put a palm tree or something, or some kind of graphic on the side or something like that. I don't know what you guys think. So I worked on that, and I threw it away because I didn't need it no more. But I spent a lot of time working on these, and they look kind of cool now that I pulled them out the trash or whatever else. But I struggle with these because I went through like maybe 5 different colorways and everything, and nothing would work on these black shoes. So I decided to try glitter. And this is what I got. And one of my subscribers told me if I use something called Krylon or something like that, I got to go back and look, that this will stay on. So then I said, well, shoot, I can sell these then. Not these, but a pair that I will actually take time with. I'm not going to waste no paint trying to paint another pair of black, but I will buy a black pair and then maybe do some glitter or something cool like this on it because I really think these are nice. I just toss them because I'm not going to take this off unless I just do something on this side, which I can see I started or whatever else, but I might not keep that. But if I do something on this side, just as a display, which I might, so I ain't got to keep wasting shoes. I go and get them from the thrift store anyway. Let me see. Would that be it? Oh, do I have anything else up here? I think that's it. Thanks for joining me. But let me show you the materials that I use. Okay. I was going to gatekeep, but I'm not going to gatekeep. For my shoes and for... Hold on, this is in the way. For my shoes and the way I do the distress, I use acetone and paint thinner when I customize my shoes. For my markers, I use the Fine Touch alcohol markers. I said alcohol free. I guess these do get drunk, but they're double sided, so they have a thin side and then they have a regular thick um, marker side as well, so you can work with both sides. This is almost like another paint kind of marker, and it's called Copic Acria. I tried to get these because I wanted to see if I can have different skin tones, and these came in those kind of tones, plus it had another black in it. So I got these, and it had a white in it, and that white is fantastic. I think I'm gonna use it for certain things, but it's got a certain tip on it that it don't go over everything. Like the markers, they don't go over this pastel. It's almost like they can't go over another medium. They might can go over that some of that paint, which they can go over it a little bit because they're paint markers. So that's something cool. And of course, I use the Posca brand, and a lot of these I use for customizing. I'm just going to use it for my painting because that's the only medium that can really work well. And I got these painter markers. These you can get at Walmart, and they work well. They work well, and they're very affordable. Sometimes in a paint, I go to my what you call it, Angelus acrylic paint. I don't just use them for customizing shoes, though I did just use them for customizing shoes. But once I saw they can work for regular painting on this stuff, nah, I got more paint. And let me see, is that it? Oh, Ohuhu. Ohuhu. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Ohuhu. That's the pastels that I use. Ohuhu pastels. And they're chalk pastels. And it's funny because I was looking for something to help with the pigments on my markers. And I found some Ohuhu Honolulu markers, double-sided as well, to give me the pigment. The beige and the brown and the peach and everything else. So I'm going to try these, but of course, these markers don't always work on all mediums because I tried to do these over the markers that I did on the painting, and they bled, and they picked up the black and start messing up their tip and start spreading the black around. So I don't know. And the black that I used, which is probably why, because it's a whole different style. Microns. They come in these small tips, and I got them ranging up to 12, but they go down to 0.05 and everything else, where they can get real fine and micro. I guess that's why they call them microns. But you know what I'll do as I start doing these drawings, I always share with you. I think I may have one more. Hold on. Let's see. Yep, I do have one more. And this is one of my favorite drawings. I forgot all about it. If you look on my site, you will see me say I so love my drawings. I drew this anime girl with some headphones on, and then I took her to ChatGPT and made her come alive and start, talking to me on the phone. This is one of my favorites. I messed up on the eye a little bit. But I messed up on the eye, I think, after I finished, and I grabbed it with my thumb or whatever else, and it smeared. But it was too late, and I wasn't going back to fix this stuff. But yeah, I appreciated this one too. I'm getting used to the details, and like with anime, like they use these whites to look like a reflection off the eyes. I got to get used to doing these different styles or whatever else. But I think this one came out pretty good. So that's it. Thanks for joining me. Ready for another month of this? I'm about to put in some work, and I think we're just going to get better and better and better. I'm going to incorporate more shoes this month, and I will incorporate, a few more cartoons. And here's something else. Anybody want to make me an offer for any of my drawings? Make an offer, pay for the shipping, which shouldn't cost much. We'll figure out how to ship it to you. You can frame it up, do what you want to with it. I'll sign it. And it's love all over because I'm not going to do nothing but hold on to these things. So, thanks for joining me. Thanks for supporting me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe, hit the like, give a comment, whatever you can do. Follow me on Facebook, Sam Pitts, or Right Standing on Facebook. Follow me on TikTok, Right Standing, or Righteous Rewards. No T, Righteous Rewards. On TikTok and on Instagram, Right Standing. God bless. I'll see you soon.